So the Robert Menendez indictment dropped today. There's actually a 39-page document on the internet now. Um, Listen, 39 pages is a lot. I know people have a lot of things going on. So I'm going to read it to you. So that way, maybe you can put me in your headphones and listen to me reading it to you. I will try not to give my opinion as much as I want to, but I will also post pictures because it does reference a lot of pictures that are in the indictment if you want to see those, but I will read it to you. The indictment, like I said, was dropped today. It is the United States of America versus Robert Menendez, Nadine Menendez, his wife, while Hannah, who's also known as Will Hannah, Jose Uribe, and Fred Dibez. So as I read through this, I will reference Robert, Nadine, Will, Jose, and Fred. So the overview. Robert Menendez, the defendant, is the senior U.S. senator from the state of New Jersey from at least 2018 up to and including in or about 2022. Menendez and his wife Nadine, the defendant, engaged in a corrupt relationship with three New Jersey associates and businessmen, Will, Jose, and Fred, the defendants, in which Menendez and Nadine agreed to and did accept. So this isn't maybe, it's saying they did accept hundreds of thousands of dollars of bribes in exchange for using Menendez's power and influence as a senator to seek to protect and enrich Hannah, Uribe, and Dibez, and to benefit the Arab Republic of Egypt. Those bribes included cash, gold, payments toward a home mortgage, compensation for a low or no-show job, a luxury vehicle, and other things of value. This corrupt relationship resulted in Menendez, the defendant, promising to take and taking a series of official acts and breaches of official duty in exchange for bribes that benefited him both directly and indirectly through Nadine, the defendant. First, Robert promised to and did use his influence and power and breach his official duty in ways that benefited the government of Egypt and Will, an Egyptian-American businessman, among others. Among other actions, Robert provided sensitive U.S. government information and took other steps that secretly aided the government of Egypt. Menendez also improperly advised and pressured an official at the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the purpose of protecting a business monopoly granted to Hannah by Egypt and used in part to fund the bribes being paid to Menendez through Nadine. Second, Robert promised to and did use his influence and power and breach his official duty to seek to disrupt a criminal investigation and prosecution undertaken by the New Jersey Attorney General's office related to Jose Uribe, the defendant, and his associates. Third, Menendez promised to and did use his influence and power and breach his official duty to recommend that the president nominate an individual as U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey who Menendez believed could be influenced by him with respect to the federal criminal prosecution of Fred Dibez, the defendant, and to seek to disrupt that same prosecution. In or about June of 2022, federal agents executed search warrants on the New Jersey home and safe deposit box of Robert and Nadine Menendez. In conducting these court-authorized searches, agents found certain of the fruits of Menendez's and Nadine's corrupt bribery agreement with Will, Jose, and Fred, including cash, gold, the luxury vehicle, and home furnishings. Over $480,000 in cash, much of it stuffed into envelopes and hidden in clothing, closets, and a safe, was discovered in the home, along with $70,000 in Nadine's safe deposit box. Some of the envelopes contained the fingerprints and or DNA of Dibez or his driver. Other of the envelopes were found inside jackets bearing Menendez's name and hanging in his closet. There are pictures. What an idiot. During the same court-authorized search of the home, agents also found home furnishings provided by Hannah and Dibez, the luxury vehicle paid by Uribe parked in the garage, as well as over $100,000 worth of gold bars in the home, which were provided by either Hannah or Dibez. Two of the gold bars Dibez provided are depicted in the photographs. So here are the relevant individuals that'll go into who they are. So Robert Menendez, the defendant, like I said, is senior U.S. Senator from the state of New Jersey. He served as mayor of Union City, New Jersey, and a member of the New Jersey state legislature until 1993, when he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, representing a New Jersey district. Menendez was appointed to the U.S. Senate in 2006, subsequently elected in 2006, and re-elected in 2012 and 2018. At all times relevant to this indictment, Menendez held a leadership position on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Look at that. First as a ranking member and then the chairman, and therefore possessed influence, among other things, to the executive branch's decisions to provide foreign military sales, foreign military financing, and other aid or support for the benefit of the government of Egypt. But by virtue of his position as the senior U.S. Senator from the state of New Jersey, at all times relevant to this indictment, Menendez had the ability to recommend to the president that a particular individual be nominated to serve as the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey. At all times relevant to this indictment, the official public website for Menendez's Senate office stated that his office could not take certain actions, including actions to influence private business matters and actions to intervene with judicial issues and criminal trials, as detailed in the below excerpt, which I will show. Nadine, the defendant, began dating Robert Menendez in or about early February of 2018. They became engaged early October of 2019 and married in early October 2020. That was quick. Before Nadine began dating Menendez, she was unemployed. Now we're going into the three New Jersey businessmen. At all times relevant to this indictment, Will Hanna, who is originally from Egypt, resided in New Jersey and maintained close connections with Egyptian officials. Hanna and Nadine, the defendant, were friends for many years before she began dating Robert. It's always those wives. Court-authorized search in or about November of 2019 of a cell phone Hanna used revealed thousands of text messages between Hanna and Nadine, many of which Nadine deleted from her own cell phone. Jose, the defendant, is a businessman who resides in New Jersey and works in the trucking and insurance business after having previously been convicted of fraud and having his insurance broker's license revoked. Uribe is a business associate and the friend of Wael Hanna, the defendant. Uribe developed a relationship with Robert and Nadine after Hanna connected them in or about 2018. Fred is a New Jersey real estate developer, founder of a New Jersey-based bank, and a business associate of Will Hanna. On or about October 30th, 2018, Fred Dybez was charged by the United States Attorney's Office for the District of New Jersey with obtaining loans under false pretenses from that bank. Dybez was a longtime fundraiser for Robert Menendez. Shocker. So the headline for this part is Menendez agrees to take actions that benefit Egypt and Hanna in exchange for promises of things of value. So in or about early 2018, Nadine informed Wael that she was dating Robert, the defendant. In the following months and years, Hanna and Nadine worked to introduce Egyptian intelligence and military officials to Menendez for the purpose of establishing and solidifying a corrupt agreement in which Hanna, with assistance from Fred and Jose, the defendants, provided hundreds of thousands of dollars of bribes to Menendez and Nadine in exchange for Robert's acts and breaches of duty to benefit the government of Egypt, Hanna, and others, including with respect to foreign military sales and foreign military financing. So here's the background on foreign military sales and the financing. I'm going to skip some words that are repetitive. Egypt was among the largest recipients in the world of U.S. military aid. Between approximately 2018 and approximately 2022, the U.S. government supplied substantial military aid to Egypt, including in the form of grants of over $1 billion per year and in the form of direct government-to-government sales of military equipment, which Egypt typically paid for with foreign military financing and with the executive branch was required to notify Congress about under certain circumstances prior to going forward with those sales. The U.S. Department of State played a central role in reviewing and approving foreign military sales to Egypt and obligating foreign military financing to Egypt, which was conditioned on certain certifications being made by the State Department. As a matter of longstanding voluntary practice, the State Department would typically honor so-called holds placed by the chairman or the ranking member of the SFRC on both foreign military financing and foreign military sales. In other words, the State Department would typically not proceed with a transfer of the financing grant money to Egypt's bank account located at all relevant times in Manhattan, or with foreign military sale to Egypt while the chairman or the ranking member of the SFRC had not signed off on and was maintaining a hold on, such as a transfer or sale. As a result, at all times relevant to this indictment, Robert, as the chairman or ranking member of the SFRC, possessed certain substantial influence over the sales and financing to Egypt. For at least several years prior to 2018, despite its strategically important relationship with the US and in the Middle East, Egypt, they had often faced resistance in obtaining foreign military financing and sales. For example, about August 2017, the State Department announced that it was withholding $195 million in financing until Egypt could demonstrate improvements on human rights and democracy, and was canceling an additional $65.7 million in military financing to Egypt. In or about early of 2018, multiple U.S. senators had raised human rights or rule of law objections to foreign military financing to Egypt, and no foreign military sales of offensive military equipment to Egypt requiring congressional notification had been concluded since in or about of March of 2016. So now Hannah, Nadine introduced Egyptian officials to Menendez in or about 2018. Robert and Nadine began dating while Will and Nadine arranged a series of meetings and dinners with Robert, paid for by Hannah or his associates, at which Egyptian officials raised, among other things, requests related to military sales or financing. In exchange for Menendez and Nadine's promise that Robert would, among other things, use his power and authority to facilitate those sales and financing to Egypt. Hannah promised, among other things, to put Nadine on the payroll of his company for a job she didn't really have to show up to. For example, about March 2018, Robert met with Egyptian military officials and other, there's an official and other officials at a meeting arranged and attended by his then girlfriend Nadine and her friend Hannah. Menendez allowed Nadine and Hannah to arrange and participate in this meeting, which took place at Robert's Senate office in Washington, D.C., and included discussions of foreign military financing to Egypt, among other topics, without the involvement of professional staff of Menendez's in his office at the SFRC. Menendez and Nadine again met with Hannah on May 6, 2018. Later that day, Robert sought from the State Department non-public information regarding the number and nationality of persons serving at the U.S. Embassy in Cairo, Egypt. Although this information was not classified, it was deemed highly sensitive because it could pose significant operational security concerns if disclosed to a foreign government or if made public, without telling his staff, SFRC staff, or the State Department that he was doing so. And on May 7th, 2018, Robert texted that sensitive, non-public embassy information to his girlfriend, Nadine, writing, "Just FYI, a number," and then it says a number of Americans, combination of diplomats, commercial service, USAID, other, and then a number of Egyptians, locally employed staff. This is what's at American Embassy. And then he gave a ratio. Are Egyptians working at embassy? That seems really sketchy. So Nadine forwarded this message to Hannah, who forwarded that information to an Egyptian government official, and these people aren't named. That same month, in or about May of 2018, Hannah hosted another dinner at a high-end restaurant with Robert, during which Robert disclosed to Hannah non-public information about the United States provision of military aid to Egypt. Shortly after the dinner, Hannah texted that same Egyptian official that the ban on small arms and ammunition to Egypt has been lifted. That means sales can begin. That will include sniper rifles, among other articles. Later that month, in or about May of 2018, Nadine conveyed to Robert a request from an Egyptian official seeking assistance in editing and drafting a letter lobbying other U.S. senators to support U.S. aid to Egypt. Nadine explained that she wanted Robert to prepare the letter because Hannah had an Egyptian official whom she referred to as the general in her communications with Robert had gotten Nadine clearance for a project. In response, Robert secretly edited and ghost wrote the requested letter on behalf of Egypt, seeking to convince other U.S. senators to release a hold on $300 million in aid to Egypt. Robert sent this ghost-written letter to Nadine from his personal email account. Nadine forwarded the ghost-written letter to Hannah, facilitating Hannah's conveyance of the revised draft back to Egyptian officials. Both Robert and Nadine deleted the email in which Nadine asked Robert to write this letter. In or about July of 2018, Robert met again with that first Egyptian official and multiple other Egyptian military officials to discuss foreign military financing and sales during a meeting that was arranged, scheduled, and attended by Nadine and Will, the defendants. In advance of that meeting, the Egyptian government, through Hannah and Nadine, provided to Robert briefing materials advocating Egyptian foreign policy goals and positions and setting forth Egyptians' requests for the approval of that foreign financing and sales to Egypt. The next day, Robert texted Nadine, "Tell Will I am going to sign off on this sale to Egypt today. These tank rounds are for tanks they have had for many years. They're using these in the Sinai for the counterterrorism campaign." Nadine forwarded this text to Hannah, who forwarded it to the first Egyptian official and the second Egyptian official. Egyptian official 1 replied with a thumbs up emoji. So now Menendez takes action to protect ISEG Halal, and Hannah fails to deliver on promised bribe payments. Will Hannah repeatedly promised Nadine payments through that no-show job from ISEG Halal Certified Inc., a New Jersey company that Hannah operated with a financial support and backing from Fred in furtherance of the scheme. However, ISEG Halal had little to no revenue between in or about 2018 and early 2019, and Hannah did not deliver on his promises to make those payments during this time period. After several months of non-payment following the initial March 2018 meeting described in paragraphs above, Nadine complained to multiple associates of Will about his failure to pay her and caused at least one of them to believe that Robert would cease acting for Hannah's benefit and at his request, including with respect to Egypt, unless Hannah came through on his promises and paid her. Nadine also complained directly to Robert about Hannah's as yet unfulfilled promises, writing, "I have been so upset all morning. Will left for Egypt yesterday, supposedly, and now thinks he's king of the world and has both countries wrapped around his pinky. I really hope they replace him." In or about spring 2019, the government of Egypt granted ISEG Halal an exclusive monopoly on the certification of U.S. food exports to Egypt as compliant with halal standards, despite the fact that neither Will nor his company had experience with halal certification. Prior to this action, a number of other U.S. companies had been licensed to certify U.S. meat exports to Egypt for halal compliance for years. The monopoly for ISEG Halal allowed Will to provide payments to Nadine and Robert. Indeed, on or about April 7th, 2019, an Egyptian government official informed Hannah that ISEG Halal was likely to become Egypt's sole halal certifier for imports from the U.S. market. That's not good for Egyptians. The next day, Nadine texted Robert, "Seems like halal went through. It might be a fantastic 2019 all around." In or about June of 2019, after ISEG Halal obtained its monopoly, Nadine formed an entity titled Strategic International Business Consultants, LLC. In New Jersey, with the assistance of Robert, the company was used to receive bribe payments in furtherance of the crimes charged herein. When sending a relative information about the formation of her company, Nadine stated by text message, "Every time I'm in a middle person for a deal, I'm asking to get paid, and this is my consulting company." The ISEG Halal monopoly advanced the scheme by, among other things, providing a revenue stream for which Will could make good on his bribe payments he had promised to Robert and Nadine. The monopoly also resulted in increased costs for various U.S. meat suppliers. Wow. As a result, in or about April and May 2019, multiple U.S. government officials from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, contacted the government of Egypt, objecting to and seeking reconsideration of its grant of monopoly rights to ISEG Halal, and the USDA prepared a public report regarding the increased cost for halal certification and the likely disruption to the U.S. market caused by this new monopoly. On or about May 21st, 2019, Robert, Nadine, and Will met with an Egyptian intelligence official, this is Egyptian official number 3, at Robert's Senate office in Washington, D.C. During this meeting, the group discussed a human rights matter that had been affecting aid to Egypt. In the same meeting, Hannah also requested Robert's assistance to counter the USDA's objections to ISEG Halal's monopoly. Later that evening, the same participants met at a steakhouse in Washington, D.C. for dinner. Over the next 2 days, May 22nd and 23rd, 2019, Will and Nadine, with a variety of materials regarding the USDA's objections to ISEG Halal's monopoly, some of which Hannah received from an Egyptian official. I read that sentence wrong, but you get what I mean. Nadine then texted certain of those materials to Robert, who later deleted them. On May 23rd, 2019, Robert called a high-level USDA official and insisted in sum and substance that the USDA stop opposing ISEG Halal's status as sole halal certifier. When the official attempted to explain why the monopoly was detrimental to U.S. interests, Robert reiterated his demand in sum and substance that the USDA stop interfering with the monopoly. The official one, did not accede to Robert's demands, but ISEG Halal nevertheless kept its monopoly. This guy has some nerve. After finally benefiting from ISEG's halal monopoly status as the sole halal certifier, Will, at times with the assistance of Fred and Jose, provided payments in furtherance of the scheme. For example, July 2019, after the mortgage company for the residence of Nadine initiated foreclosure proceedings, Will caused ISEG Halal to pay approximately $23,000 to bring Nadine's mortgage current. Hannah made this payment following a series of discussions with Nadine, as well as Jose and Fred, about various options for bringing the mortgage current. When at one point, Uribe, and that is Jose, responded to Nadine that Hannah might balk at the amount required to bring the mortgage current, Nadine replied in part, "When I feel comfortable and plan the trip to Egypt, he, Hannah, will be more powerful than the president of Egypt." Therefore, Uribe and Hannah worked to facilitate the payments, and Robert continued taking actions to assist Hannah and Egypt, including those discussed below. A few months later, in or about September of 2019, Nadine texted Fred complaining that Hannah had not paid her what he owed her. Dibes replied to Nadine, "Nadine, I personally gave Bob a check for September." Several days later, Nadine texted Robert to complain that Will, Fred had not made payments, writing, "I am so upset," stating that Hannah had not left her an envelope and remarking, "I thought Fred would make sure it's there, and the second day in a row, there is nothing." Nadine also wrote, "I thought after everything that had happened, especially last Saturday and that week," referring to the meetings that Robert had with senior Egyptian officials, that at least he would honor his word one time. I don't know if I should text Fred or wait. What should I do? Robert responded, no, you should not text or email. Soon thereafter, Nadine called Dibez. ISEG Halal issued a $10,000 check to Strategic International Business Consultants the next day, about September 28th, 2019. In total, ISEG issued three $10,000 checks to the LLC, dated August 30th, September 28th, and November 5th, 2019, which Dibez helped provide or facilitate. During the same period when ISEG Halal issued these checks on or about September 9th, 2019, Egyptian official 3 texted Will that a State Department employee told an Egyptian diplomatic official today that Senator Menendez put a hold on $1 billion of U.S. AID to Egypt before the recess, with 4 exclamation points. And is this true? Hannah responded to Egyptian official 3 that Hannah would ask. Hannah then attempted to contact Nadine, and then several minutes later, Hannah called Fred via an encrypted messaging program and forwarded Egyptian official number 3's text message to Dibez. Dibez promptly called Robert, and then Dibez called Hannah back via that same encrypted messaging program. Less than 2 minutes later, Hannah texted Egyptian official number 3, writing that it was not true, and he, Robert, did not know anything about the hold on the U.S. aid to Egypt. Also, in or about September 2019, Robert, the defendant, offered to provide his assistance to Egypt and to Hannah during an official trip to India. Following a dinner among Hannah, Robert, and Nadine, Hannah texted the Egyptian official number 3, our man Robert is traveling to India after 2 weeks, and he is asking if there is any message we need or anything for ISEG. Later that same month, Menendez, Hannah, and Fred, the defendant, met in Manhattan with Egyptian official number 3. The meetings between Robert and Nadine, the defendants, the Egyptian officials, and the receipt of things of value by Robert and Nadine in exchange for his promises to take actions favorable to Egypt and Will and others, continued through 2020 and into 2022. For example, in or about March 2020, Nadine texted Egyptian official number 3, anytime you need anything, you have my number and we will make everything happen. A few days later, she arranged for Robert to meet with Egyptian official number 3, whom Nadine referred to as the general, regarding negotiations between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan over a dam on the Nile River being built by Ethiopia, known as the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which was generally regarded as one of the most important foreign policy issues for Egypt. Within 1 month, in or about April 2020, Robert wrote a letter to then Secretary of the Treasury and the then Secretary of State regarding the dam, beginning the letter with, I am writing to express my concern about the stalled negotiations between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan over the dam, and stating, I therefore urge you to significantly increase the State Department's engagement on negotiations regarding the dam. In or about October 2020, Robert and Nadine met for dinner with Egyptian official number 3 and another Egyptian official number 4 now at a restaurant in Edgewater, New Jersey. After this dinner, Nadine and Egyptian official number 4 began texting with each other on an ongoing basis and had additional in-person meetings, including a dinner they had on December 2020 with Robert and Egyptian official number 3. In or about 2021, Hannah used ISEG halal funds to cause two exercise machines and an air purifier, among other items collectively worth thousands of dollars, to be purchased online and delivered to the home of Robert and Nadine. On or about June 21, 2021, Nadine and Egyptian official number 4 organized a private meeting between Robert and a senior Egyptian intelligence official, that's now Egyptian official number 5, in a hotel in Washington, D.C., prior to a meeting between Egyptian official number 5 and other U.S. senators the next day. On the day of the private meeting, Robert provided Nadine with a copy of a news article reporting on questions that other U.S. senators intended to ask Egyptian official number 5, regarding a human rights issue. Nadine then sent that article to Egyptian official number 4, who responded, thank you so much, Chairman. I think they're referring to Robert there. Also raised it today. We appreciate it. The next day, Nadine texted Egyptian official number 4 that she hoped the article she sent had been helpful and stated, I just thought it would be better to know ahead of time what is being talked about. That way you can prepare your rebuttals. On or about June 23rd, 2021, 2 days after the private meeting between Robert and Egyptian official number 5, Hannah purchased 22 1-ounce gold bars, each with a unique serial number. 2 of these 1-ounce gold bars were subsequently found during the court-authorized search of his home in June 2022. And that's the home of Robert and Nadine. During the relevant time periods, the spot market price of gold was approximately $1,800 per ounce. In or about fall of 2021, Nadine communicated directly with Egyptian official number 4 to arrange a trip for Robert and Nadine to Egypt, which they took in or about October 2021. Nadine and Egyptian official number 4 originally planned the trip as an unofficial visit and therefore without supervision from the State Department. When an SFRC staffer contacted the U.S. Embassy in Cairo regarding the trip, causing the planned trip to become a formal congressional delegation under the supervision of the State Department, Egyptian official number 4 texted Nadine and said, I will probably lose my job and SOS. Nadine forwarded this text to Robert. Hannah was also in Egypt during Robert and Nadine's trip, and they met for at least one dinner while there. During that trip, Robert and Nadine also met with multiple Egyptian officials, including for a private dinner at the home of Egyptian official number 5, and there's a photo. In or about January of 2022, Robert sent Nadine a link to a news article reporting on 2 pending foreign military sales to Egypt, totaling approximately $2.5 billion. Nadine forwarded this link to Hannah, writing, Bob had to sign off on this. In exchange for the promises and acts set forth above, Will and Fred provided multiple things of value to Robert and Nadine, including with assistance of Jose. Those things of value included hundreds of thousands of dollars in checks, cash, and gold, some of which were recovered during that June 2022 authorized search of Robert and Nadine's home. Nadine caused some of the gold to be sold in Manhattan prior to the search and deposited, I wonder if she was tipped off, prior to the search and deposited the proceeds into bank accounts she controlled. So in or about 2019, Will and Jose offered and then helped to buy a new Mercedes-Benz C300 convertible worth more than $60,000 for Nadine and Robert. In exchange, Robert agreed and sought to interfere in a New Jersey state criminal prosecution of an associate of Uribe and a state criminal investigation involving an employee of Uribe, whom Uribe referred to as a relative in communicating with Nadine. Specifically, Robert contacted a senior state prosecutor in the office of the New Jersey Attorney General, who supervised the prosecution of the New Jersey defendant and the investigation involving the New Jersey investigative subject, official number 2, in an attempt through advice and pressure to cause official number 2 to resolve these matters favorably to the New Jersey defendant, and the New Jersey investigative subject, official 2, considered Robert Menendez's actions inappropriate and did not agree to intervene. That's good, at least. The first matter that Robert agreed to attempt to influence concerned the New Jersey defendant. The New Jersey defendant was an associate of Jose and was charged with insurance fraud relating to a trucking company. And we'll call that trucking company number 1, the insurance of which was brokered by a company controlled by Uribe. The New Jersey investigative subject, an employee of Uribe who worked at the insurance company and whom he referred to as a relative, allegedly was involved in submitting the insurance applications at issue in the New Jersey defendant's criminal case. Uribe was implicated in the conduct with which the New Jersey defendant was charged, and Uribe raised concerns about the case to Will. Among other things, writing in or about April 2018 about the case that the deal is to kill and stop all investigation. Nadine was involved in a car accident December of 2018 that left her without a car. On multiple occasions, up to and including on January 2019, Nadine sent text messages to Will, the defendant, about her lack of car. Beginning in or about January of 2019, Robert, Nadine, Will, and Jose agreed that Robert would attempt to intervene with official number 2 to influence the prosecution of the New Jersey defendant in exchange for a new car. For example, on or about January 26, 2019, Nadine invited Hannah and Uribe to a dinner with her and Robert. Robert, Nadine, and Hannah had the dinner January 27th without Uribe, who could not attend because of a scheduling conflict. After the dinner, Hannah sent Nadine a series of text messages providing facts about the prosecution of the New Jersey defendant. Nadine subsequently deleted those text messages. On or about January 29th, 2019, 2 days after the dinner, described in paragraphs above, Robert called official number 2 and spoke with him in an attempt through advice and pressure to cause a resolution of the prosecution in the New Jersey defendant's favor. In preparation for this call, Robert requested and received multiple text messages from Nadine about the New Jersey defendant, including the charges he was facing, which Nadine in turn requested and received from Hannah. Robert and Nadine both subsequently deleted those text messages. After being contacted by Robert to avoid any potential inappropriate influence in the case, official number 2 did not share with the prosecution team that Robert had contacted him about the dinner and did not intervene in the matter. Nonetheless, in or about April 2019, the New Jersey defendant resolved his criminal prosecution with a guilty plea pursuant to a plea agreement that recommended a non-incarceratory sentence. This resolution was more favorable for the New Jersey defendant than the prosecutor's initial plea offer earlier in the case. Shocker. As Robert, the defendant, agreed to and did call official 2 about the New Jersey defendant's case in January of 2019, Will and Jose worked to provide Nadine with a Mercedes-Benz convertible, which they had previously promised. Only a few days after Robert's first call to official 2, February 3rd, 2019, Nadine texted Hannah, "All is great. I'm so excited to get a car next week." After some delays, Uribe ultimately facilitated Nadine's purchase of the car through the following events. March 12, 2019, Nadine and Uribe spoke for over 21 minutes. After the call, Uribe and texted Nadine, "I am real. I stand by my word." March 27th, 2019, Uribe texted Nadine the information for a Mercedes-Benz dealership in Edison, New Jersey. Over the next several days, Uribe worked to put Nadine in touch with a salesman at the car dealership. Once at the dealership, Nadine sent Robert photos of 2 different cars to seek his input on which color. On April 2019, Nadine texted a Mercedes-Benz car dealership salesperson that Uribe said he would be going to the dealership on April 5th to pick up the car. Later that day, Uribe texted an associate 1, a message roughly translated from Spanish as, "I did everything on this side. I need $15,000 in cash this afternoon." Later that day, Nadine texted Uribe, "You are a miracle worker who makes dreams come true. I will always remember that." On April 4th, 2019, Nadine left Robert a voicemail saying she was going to meet Jose for 5 minutes and then met him in a parking lot of a restaurant where Uribe provided Nadine with approximately $15,000 in cash. The next day, Nadine purchased the Mercedes convertible, making a $15,000 down payment with a combination of cash, a credit card, and several checks, and making out an automotive loan to finance the remainder of the approximately $60,000 purchase. A number of the statements Nadine made on the application in order to secure the loan were false, including statements about her employment and income. After the purchase was complete, Nadine messaged Menendez, "Congratulations, mon amour de la vie. We are the proud owners of a 2019 Mercedes," with a heart. Later that day, Uribe asked her, "Are you happy?" Nadine responded, "I will never forget this." Nadine later texted Menendez a photo of the Mercedes convertible. After initially providing cash to Nadine to purchase the Mercedes vehicle, Uribe subsequently caused monthly financing payments to be paid for the car, which were routed either through one of his business associates or through the company he controlled. In order to make initial payments in or about May 2019, Uribe asked a business associate number 2, to make a payment for the Mercedes-Benz convertible from associate number 2's corporate bank account, which had previously been opened at a bank branch in the Bronx. Uribe explained to associate 2 in making this request that he did not want his own name to be associated with the payment. Uribe and associate number 2 manually made each periodic payment from May of 2019 through October of 2019, either from associate number 2's bank account or from an account owned by the trucking company, originally owned by a relative of Uribe, which is trucking company number 2. So late July 2019, a New Jersey detective sought to interview the New Jersey investigative subject in a criminal investigation related to the prosecution of the New Jersey defendant. Following that interview request, Robert, Nadine, and Jose agreed that Robert would attempt to intervene with official number 2 again. You know who these people are. Who's official number 2? For example, after learning of this interview request, Uribe contacted Nadine and met with her on or about July 31st, 2019. The next morning, Uribe and Nadine sent a series of text messages saying that he did not want anyone to bother the New Jersey investigative subject, who, as discussed above, was an insurance broker at the insurance company he controlled, and also saying that we need to make things go away, we need to move fast, and we can stop this. That day, Nadine wrote to Uribe, among other things, that she would address it first thing tomorrow morning or tonight, depending on when Robert is home, and adding, he will be home first thing tomorrow, I will address it first thing tomorrow, and have the phone calls go out. Later that day, Robert performed a Google search for the initials of the state agency employing the insurance fraud investigator who was seeking to interview the New Jersey investigative subject. A few days later, Nadine texted Uribe that Robert had commented about Uribe's 2 requests related to these criminal matters, that it would have been so easy if we had wrapped both requests together. September 3rd, 2019, Uribe, who at this point had been making periodic payments for the Mercedes-Benz convertible for several months, texted Nadine saying, please don't forget about me. I will never forget about you, and I need peace. The next day, September 4th, 2019, Robert called official number 2 to schedule an in-person meeting with official number 2 for September 6th, 2019 at Robert's Senate office in Newark, New Jersey. The day after that call, September 5th, 2019, Uribe, Menendez, and Nadine met at Nadine's house. September 6th, 2019, Robert met with official number 2 at his Senate office in Newark in an attempt, through advice and pressure, to cause official number 2 to favorably resolve the investigation involving New Jersey investigative subject. After the meeting, Robert met with Uribe at Robert's apartment. Uribe therefore texted another business associate of his, associate number 3, that the meeting between Robert and official number 2 had been a good meeting, and that while nothing was final, Uribe's understanding, Robert had informed Uribe that the meeting with official number 2 was very positive. Over the next of several weeks following the September 6, 2019 meeting between Robert and official 2, Uribe repeatedly texted Nadine asking for updates and stated that he needed peace. October 29th, 2019, the day after Uribe texted Nadine, I will always text you on Monday in case you have an update. I just need peace. This guy's desperate. Robert called Uribe from his Senate office in Washington, D.C. Within minutes of getting off the phone, Uribe texted Nadine writing, I just got a call. I am a very happy person, and God bless you and him forever. Several nights later, Robert, Nadine, Uribe, and associate number 3 met for a celebratory dinner and toasted with a bottle of champagne. There's a picture. November 5th, 2019, several days after receiving the call from Robert and meeting for a celebratory champagne dinner, Uribe texted Nadine asking for information that would allow him to set up automatic payments for the Mercedes-Benz convertible. 2 minutes later, after saying he intended to set up automatic payments, Uribe texted Nadine again, writing, I have so much peace, gracias a Dios, and thanks to you guys. November 9th, 2019, Uribe set up automatic payments for the convertible. Uribe caused a trucking company associated with him, trucking company number 3. How many freaking companies does this guy have? To make at least 32 monthly payments on the car. Together with the payments, Uribe caused Associate 2 to make for the Mercedes-Benz convertible. Uribe caused more than $30,000 to be paid for the purchase of the car, not including the cash Uribe had provided in a parking lot to Nadine to pay towards the down payment. June 2022, federal agents approached Robert and Nadine and Jose and executed court-authorized search warrants on the Menendez's residence, among other places. After those approaches, Uribe ceased making the payments on the convertible, and later that year, Robert wrote Nadine a check for $23,000, and Nadine wrote Uribe a check for $21,000 with a memo line personal loan. Oh my God. For at least in or about December 2020 till early 2022, Robert agreed to attempted to influence the pending federal prosecution of Fred in exchange for cash, furniture, and gold bars that Dybus provided to Nadine and Robert, including by recommending that the president nominate a candidate for U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey, who Robert believed he could influence. In or about December of 2020, Robert met with an individual who would later be nominated to the U.S. attorney to be the U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey, referenced to herein as the candidate or official 3. Wow. The latter official number 3 Senate confirmation the latter after official 3 Senate confirmation. At the time of the meeting, the candidate was an attorney in private practice. I'm sure we could figure out who this is now. And the purpose of his meeting with Robert was to consider a potential candidacy for U.S. attorney in New Jersey. In that meeting, Robert criticized the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Jersey prosecution of Fred Dybus and said that he hoped that the candidate would look into Dybus's case if the candidate became the U.S. attorney. Robert did not mention any other case in the meeting. After the meeting, the candidate informed Robert that he might have to recuse himself from the Dybus prosecution as a result of a matter he had handled in private practice involving Dybus. Robert subsequently informed the candidate that he would not put forward the candidate's name to the White House for a recommendation to be nominated by the president for the position of U.S. attorney. Robert also told the candidate that he would be recommending a different individual for that position. Instead of the candidate, Robert, the defendant, recommended a different individual for U.S. attorney. Fred believed that different individual would likely be sympathetic to him. Spring of 2021, a series of news reports critical of the other individual were published. During that time period, in or about spring of 2021, an individual, the advisor associated with Robert, the defendant, spoke to the candidate and discussed, among other things, the possibility of the candidate recusing from the prosecution of Dybus. Subsequently, the advisor informed Robert that the advisor believed that the candidate would likely not have to recuse from the prosecution of Dybus. Then on May 2nd, 2021, in connection with Robert's potential recommendation of the candidate, the advisor texted Robert, "I think if you call the candidate, you'll be comfortable with what he says." October 17th, 2021, Robert and Nadine returned from Egypt as described above, landing at JFK International Airport. Upon their arrival, a driver for Fred picked up Robert and Nadine from the airport and drove them to their home in New Jersey. I wonder what they talked about there. The next day, Robert performed a web search for how much is 1 kilo of gold worth. Well, there you go. As discussed herein, multiple gold bars provided by Dybus were found during the raid in 2022. Following the events above, Roberts recommended to the president that the candidate be nominated for the position of U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey, and the candidate was nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and sworn in as U.S. Attorney on December 2021. And this is official number 3, by the way. Shortly after the swearing in, on the basis of information that official 3 provided to the U.S. Department of Justice to determine whether a recusal was warranted, official 3 was informed that he or they, whoever they are, was recused from the prosecution of Dibez. Official 3 and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Jersey implemented that recusal. After official 3 became the U.S. Attorney, the following events took place, among others. December 23rd, 2021, the trial of Dibez, which had previously been scheduled for January 2022, was adjourned for reasons related to COVID-19. Later that day, Fred texted Nadine and asked how Robert, who had recently sustained a shoulder injury, was doing. Nadine responded that Robert was doing better, having heard the trial date was adjourned, and that Robert was fixated on it. Fred responded, "Good. I don't want him to be upset over it. This is not his fault, and he was amazing in all he did. He's an amazing friend and as loyal as they come. How is the shoulder? Is he sleeping? Let me know if I can get him a recliner if it helps him sleep." Dibez therefore provided a recliner to Robert. January 21st, 2022, Robert called official number 3 and asked the identity of official number 3's first assistant U.S. attorney, who is now official number 4. As a result of official number 3's recusal, official number 4 had supervisory responsibility over the prosecution of Fred. January of 22nd of 2022, Robert and Dibez called Dibez's lawyer to complain that the lawyer had not been aggressive enough in attempting to get Fred's case dismissed. January 24th, 2022, Fred's driver exchanged 2 brief calls with Nadine. Nadine then texted Dibez writing, "Thank you." Christmas in January. Fred's driver's fingerprints were later found on an envelope containing thousands of dollars of cash recovered from the residence of Robert and Nadine in New Jersey. This envelope also bore Dibez's DNA and was marked with Dibez's return address. In or about early afternoon of January 24th, 2022, 2 hours after Nadine had texted Dibez thanking him and writing Christmas in January, Robert called official number 4 in a call lasting for about 15 seconds. This was Robert's first call to official number 4. January 29th, 2022, several days after Nadine had texted Dibez thanking him and writing Christmas in January, Robert performed a Google search for a kilo of gold price. January 31st, 2022, Robert again called official number 4 in a call lasting approximately 1 minute and 24 seconds. Within minutes of the end of this call, official number 4, Robert called Dibez. Between approximately in or about December 2021 and February 2022, Robert directed the advisor to ask official number 3, who was at the time the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey, why he had recused himself from the prosecution of Fred when Robert had previously believed that he would not recuse himself. The advisor declined to do so. Later, March 2022, the advisor informed Robert that he was planning to have lunch with official number 3. Robert told the advisor in sum and substance that he was frustrated with the way the U.S. Attorney's Office was handling the prosecution of Dibez, and further told the advisor to tell official number 3 to give Dibez all due process, notwithstanding that Robert knew official number 3 was recused from the matter. The advisor had the lunch with official number 3, but did not pass on the message from Robert. So then on March 30th, 2022, Nadine met for lunch with Dibez, and following the lunch, Nadine texted Dibez, "Thank you, Fred," with a bunch of emojis. The next day, Nadine met with a jeweler, who they're calling the jeweler, who was friends with Dibez and Will, and texted with Dibez about the fact that she was meeting with the jeweler. At that meeting, Nadine provided the jeweler 2 1-kilogram gold bars to be sold. At that time, the spot market price for gold was over $60,000 per kilo. Nadine falsely told the jeweler in sum and substance that the gold came from her mother. A court-authorized search of Nadine's home phone later found a photograph taken the day of Nadine's meeting with the jeweler of 2 1-kilo gold bars marked with the serial numbers indicating that they had been previously possessed by Diabez. A portion of this photograph is below. So I'll show you that picture. Official number 3 and 4 did not pass on to the prosecution team the fact that Robert had contacted them as described in the above paragraphs, and they did not treat the case differently as a result of the above described contacts. In or about April of 2022, Fred pled guilty pursuant to a plea agreement that provided for a probationary sentence. 3 pages left. As noted above, June 2022, court-authorized search of the residence of Robert and Nadine. The defendants revealed, among other things, approximately 2 1-kilo gold bars and 9 1-ounce gold bars that had serial bars indicating that they had been previously owned by Fred. The search also revealed the residence contained, among other things, hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, including approximately 10 envelopes of cash with tens of thousands of dollars bearing the fingerprints of Diabez. And one of the envelopes also bore Diabez's fingerprints and Robert's. At all times relevant to this indictment, Robert was required as a U.S. Senator to file annual financial disclosure forms listing things including income received by him or his spouse in each calendar year. Robert did not disclose the receipt of any payments towards the Mercedes convertible for the benefit of him or Nadine, or the receipt of any cash or gold bars by him or Nadine in any calendar year. Grand jury charges, count 1. So this is conspiracy to commit bribery. So listen, I mean, there's only 3 pages left, but these are all the counts. I'm not going to read the details because what's really important is the story. So count 1 is the conspiracy to commit bribery. Count 2 is conspiracy to commit honest services fraud. Count 3 is conspiracy to commit extortion under color of official rights. And then there are forfeiture allegations, and those are all at the end of the indictment. But what I really wanted to do was share the story with you guys because this is the official document that details the story. So whatever BS the media wants to give you, I wanted you to be prepared with it. Hopefully you guys, stayed with me. My picture's over there, which is why I keep looking over there. But hopefully you were able to follow along. This was a lot of reading. I am now dizzy, thirsty, but thanks for listening, and share it if you think anybody else wants to hear it. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.